Satisfy your need for happiness through your own curiosity with the Ranveer Show. What's the difference between Bhairav, Kal Bhairav, Mahakaal and Shiva?
So Shiva, when you say, let us assume Sadashiva. Sadashiva is the very peaceful and calm form. For practical purposes, understanding, okay? For not going too much into the theory of it, for practical understanding of it, and this was told to me, and which I found very useful in my own sadhana. So moment you consider Shiva as outside of the cremation ground, who is married to Parvati, and there is children, Ganesha and Kartikeya, Soma Skanda, we call him the Murti, etc. So that is Shiva as the auspicious, most auspicious. The moment Shiva enters the cremation ground, he becomes Bhairava. He turns his Rupa into that of Bhairava. In certain states of great power where it is needed, he turns himself into Bhairava. So Bhairava is not fundamentally different from Shiva. In fact, the Shiva Puran actually mentions this particular sloka that is there, which is, there is no difference between Shiva and Bhairava. It is only the Maya of Shiva that makes you see these two as different. Practically speaking, Bhairava is a more aggressive, intense form of Shiva that has some connection to the cremation grounds. Okay, cremation ground means death. So if Bhairava blesses somebody, he can also ensure what is your manner of death, when will you die, things like that. He has control over all these things. Okay, so that is one. Kala Bhairava is the primary form of Bhairava. Okay, Kala Bhairava is the form of Bhairava who emanated from Shiva. And the first thing that he did was, when did Bhairava come out? Because when the story says that Brahma started saying that he is as good as Shiva. Okay, and then out of the anger of Shiva, Kala Bhairava manifested, and with the nail of his little finger in the left hand, he cuts off Brahma's fifth head. Okay, for that arrogance, because Shiva is beyond Brahma. Then Brahma realizes that this is Shiva's only. Shiva is the supreme. That head of Brahma gets stuck in Kala Bhairava's hand. That is the first Brahma Hatya. Brahma Hatya means killing of a Brahmin. Okay, so Brahmin is, in that specifically era, somebody who leads his life by upasana of the deities, by the rules that is governing the deities, etc. So that is a thing of respect, right? So it acquires power, certain degree of power that comes in. It was the traditional idea I'm talking about, and I'm not going into the intricacies and years of caste system. But Brahma Hatya is a sin, is a pap. Bhairava is the one who creates the first Brahma Hatya, because he destroys the head of Brahma, who's the one who takes the Vedas and who gives the rules of the Vedas, etc., etc. So then it is said that in order that people do not get misguided, because after all, Brahma Hatya is a very negative thing, so he takes up a penance. Just to show people, it's a lila, we call it a play. He doesn't need to do it because he's already very high up, but he takes up this penance. Shiva tells him that you go ahead begging with that bowl in your hand. Okay, what is that bowl? That is the skull of Brahma in his hand. So he goes around for 12 years across India and across the world universe. He goes to Vaikuntha. Vishnu is there. Vishnu looks at him and says that you are playing around. You are Shiva only. Okay, why are you doing this Leela? Things like that. And then Vishnu tells him, go to Kashi. So he enters Kashi. Moment he enters Kashi, that skull of Brahma that was there falls down at a place called Kapal Mochan. Okay, and that is why, and then he resides in Kashi permanently as a guardian of Kashi. Okay, Kashi is also a very spiritual state. So Kala Bhairava basically is a deity who sustains, creates, and who eats away your sins. He can destroy your sins.
Wash your karmas.
When he washes the karmas, sometimes there is a thing it's believed that suppose somebody dies in Kashi, you attain to the liberation completely. Okay, moksha, liberation will come. But liberation comes due to, before that, there is something known as Bhairav Yatana. Yatana means pain. Bhairava, what he does is that in a very brief period of time, the karmic things that you had to experience across many lifetimes, he will ensure that it is, you undergo that in a very brief span of time, and you finish off your karmas, and then you're free, and then you can be enlightened. He gives that. There's a metaphysical meaning to this. Kashi is also a particular state where it is of intense luminous light and very powerful and beautiful, very deep condition. Bhairava is the one who guards that place. He ensures who can enter and who is fit to enter and who's not fit to enter. Okay. He is a Kshetrapala, no doubt. He guards Kashi, but also he becomes eventually, as Kala Bhairava, there's another aspect. The name Kala is specifically given. He can scare Yama, he can scare death. So death, which is the most transformative and perhaps the most dangerous thing we have, or something that causes fear in everybody, that itself is scared of Bhairava. Which means that Bhairava Upasana eventually, if a person continues, will slowly make you fearless. That quality will rub off into an individual. And when I say fearless, I don't mean fearless of ghosts and all that. Most of the time we are fearful of circumstances, of people, of life in general, what is going to happen tomorrow, what is going to happen. He takes you to a state, Bhairava takes you eventually to a state that you are able to digest reality as it is. And you're not scared, you're not running away. You are where you are. He does it not by changing your circumstances. That is possible. He can do that. If he's happy, he can. I get so many mails from people. They started Bhairava Upasana and some magical good thing happened, etc. Very nice. But the primary thing is that he gives you the power to go through that fear. And then you attain to a condition where you don't care. That is very typically one of his blessings.
Detachment, basically.
Yes, a sense of detachment, but also activity. Bhairava is a very active deity. Shiva, if you're now coming back to Shiva, so the way we worship Shiva is there and Parvati is there. So his Shakti is outside. Okay. So Shiva, in a way, is the personification of the static state of realization. So you come into Shiva Tattva and you become very peaceful and calm and you are not bothered about dunya kya kar raha hai, mere ko kya karna hai. That type of a thing. Shiva creates. Spiritually, for example, Ramana Maharishi. Okay. Just like that, he sits in the mountain. He's in a very exalted condition. Shakti is outside. Shakti is what creates the world, runs the world. Shiva is detached from that. But in the Bhairava state, Shakti is inside him. So Bhairava will make you very active also. He will make you work.
What is Mahakaal?
Mahakaal is time personified in a way. And Mahakaal is the highest form of Bhairava.
It is a Bhairava.
Yes, Mahakaal Bhairava. And Mahakaal is worshipped not only among us but also among Buddhas. And it is perhaps around 11th, 12th century. I was interestingly reading about Mahakaal practices among Buddhists. I don't know much about them. But somebody gifted me a very beautiful Mahakaal painting. So 11th century, there was a monk, I don't remember his name, who had come to Nalanda and he was meditating on the cremation grounds near that, and he gets an instruction or inspiration from Mahakaal, and he takes that Mahakaal practices to Tibet, and through him eventually all the schools of Tibetan Buddhism have some or the other Mahakaal related practice as a primary guardian deity of the sampradaya, as a protector of their dharma and things like that. Okay.
Chakra Samvara.
That is another deity. I think Mahakaal is another. Okay.
I believe Chakra Samvara is their version of Shiva because it resides on Mount Kailash with his wife, who's represented by red and he's represented by blue.
Okay.
I mean, at least it's too strong a parallel to not
so
be.
There is these are all controversial zones actually, because it's possible that some of their practices may have been inspired by the original Shiva Tantra that was there around Kashmir, etc. So yeah, there may be similarities even in the Paddhatis, but they do very strong Tantra sadhana. There is no doubt about it. Leaving aside the deities, leaving aside the mantras, etc. Many of the Paddhatis and all that, which whatever I've read from the internet, of course, I have no direct experience of them, is definitely very hardcore Tantra sadhana.
Paddhati is?
Paddhati is method of sadhana. Okay. So Mahakaal goes there. In India also Mahakaal is there, Ujjain Mahakaal is there, but the Mahakaal practices here were more confined to the Aghori Sampradayas. Very less was done in its proper hardcore manner among the average Upasakas. there are two ways in which people can approach Mahakal. One is through the Tantra Marga, where Mahakal Bhairava is the consort of Dakshina Kali. Okay. In this krama, the only being that is more intense than Mahakal is Kali. Okay. But to reach her, you will need his blessings, because he is the one who is the mantra drashta. He is the one who sees the mantras of Kali and gives it to the world. Okay. There is somebody called Kali who is so and so, which is the mantra for it, how to do purushcharana of it, etc. All that. And there is the other krama. Krama means path of movement. Other path of movement where one can go from Bhairavas, Kala Bhairava and then Mahakal Bhairava. Okay. Where there are no other feminine deities involved. So that is also possible. But Mahakal practices have more or less reduced in intensity in India. What is there is minor, and it is confined only to some, augur sampradayas, etc. So it is not as abiding, as powerful and widespread, sort of, and as intense, obviously. Because what happens is, if he is not the Mula Devata, if somebody is not the primary deity, then your puja paddhati, etc., will be subservient to this primary deity, whoever you consider.
If you enjoyed today's clip, make sure you check out these curated playlists that we've made especially for you, related to the subject that was spoken about in this clip.